We just can't get rid of the SEC, can we? This is day 4 from Atlanta with the SEC Media Days. We appreciate all of you stopping by here at the Voice of College Football. It's the College Football Show, and this is what we do each and every day, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Great guests coming your way, and we might as well get right to it. Without further ado, leave those comments and questions there in the chat. We got Ty Hudson joining us from Tusk Talk with Ty. And always good to see Ty stopping by. Ty, what's going on?
What's going on, Mark? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How's that operation going on for you right now?
Pretty good. Pumping out plenty of Patreon content. Tusk Talk with Ty Patreon. We're I've got some hopefully get some guests scheduled out here in the next coming days. So, trying to find that good balance between producing Patreon content and then also, keeping up with YouTube as well. There's a little bit of a challenge in that. And then you've also got Discord. You got to keep that thing alive and thriving as best you can. We've got we've got 2 online EA College Football 2-6 leagues going. We've got an open league and a Patreon league. Where you got to be a $8 donor or higher to be in the Patreon league, but anybody can join the open league, the Tusk Talk with Ty open league. But trying to balance it all. I mean, the grind. It's one that not very many people, once they understand like what it is that we do and how much time and energy we put into all this. I don't know that anyone would rather do this than their 9-to-5 job sometimes. But it's a blast. I enjoy doing it, and all the people who support me and sponsor the show, man, they're helping keeping this whole thing afloat. So I'm staying busy this summer for sure. Right now, our live content is really just Monday nights. It's the Monday Night Lights live show on obviously Monday night, usually 6:30 p.m. And it's myself and Travis Ford, Tim Neal. When we're all available, we all 3 of us get together. The funny thing is they don't always happen on Monday night. Sometimes it's Tuesday or Wednesday, but like I said, the struggle to try to find that balance sometimes is it can be interesting.
Sam Pittman and the crew in Atlanta today. So
yeah.
Anything in particular that Pittman had to say that caught your ear?
It was And listen, South Arkansas people, Central Arkansas people, the folks down in the Delta, they're probably not going to like this, but I liked what he had to say about playing Arkansas State and Little Rock. More or less just saying that, no, we need to play them in Fayetteville. And he was so clear about that, Mark. I've never heard, whether it coming from going all the way back to obviously, Jeff Long or Hunter Yurchek and all the coaches that have come along since then, talking about Bobby Petrino to Bret Bielema to now Sam Pittman. I don't know that I've ever heard a coach so loud and clearly just say, we need to play these games in Fayetteville, on such a public display, like something like the SEC Media Days, that's broadcast on SEC Network. And so to me, that was interesting. And I think that's there's got to be something to that. This really could be the last game they ever play, that the Razorbacks ever play in Little Rock. And listen, I've been to games down there, historical moments, Miracle on Markham, all this stuff, both of those, by the way. Not that I was there for those, but I've been there, and that place is rowdy, tailgating there. I've even heard from Ole Miss fans who are known to have some of the best tailgating in college football, compliment tailgating down in Little Rock. It's fantastic, but it's time to stop with the disadvantages to the U of A. You already played this game in the house that Jones built against A&M, which has never done you any favors. You can't recruit. You can't bring recruits to a place like that. And the same thing with Little Rock. You can't take recruits on an OV, on an official visit down to Little Rock. You're already at a huge disadvantage. And then we've also heard past coaches talk about going to Little Rock. They prepare for it like it's an away game because they have to travel. And there's a lot of moving parts to that. It's not just the team bus. It's the equipment bus. It's the band. You got to haul everyone down there. It's expensive. I think Jeff Long said on Bo Mattingly's show a long time ago that it's upwards of over I think he said like $1.5 million just to go down there and play. That back then, when I heard that, I thought that's a huge red flag. We need to stop that. And again, you're already at a recruiting disadvantage, being basically in the middle of nowhere in Northwest Arkansas. A lot of money here, a lot of opportunity here. But when it comes to recruiting, this is not a state that produces a ton of content, and you're already, ton of athletes, ton of 5-star athletes. So you're already putting yourself at this massive disadvantage. Oh, and now we're going to go play Little Rock, and now we're going to go play down in Arlington, where we can't do anything with recruiting. And so this all, in my honest opinion, Mark, they should have stopped playing at both those venues a long time ago. That's just my opinion.
I got to tell you, Ty, I did not expect to get on here today and to hear you wax poetic and go on a rant about games in Little Rock.
I've gone on a few of them on my show, and it's turned some people off. Definitely the first time I went public with that, like in 2019, my DMs were definitely people that were like, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm from whatever south of Little Rock, and I hate that opinion so much. So I'm going to unsubscribe from you, and I'm going to dislike your videos and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, that's just the way I feel. You could call me an NWA elitist all you want. What I really want is what's best for the football program. It's already up against it. If you couldn't tell from the way Sam Pittman talked today about some of their financial woes and the mass exodus of players, I know it's a little bit it's a separate issue, but it's like this program is already up against it being in the SEC to begin with. Not that they haven't been competitive here, and not that they can't ever be competitive here ever again, but it's like we need to think about what's best for the university, what's best for these coaches, what puts them in the seat to success. Playing games down Little Rock ain't it. I'm sorry.
So I was trying to go through and figure out, okay, are there any other schools that have this tradition or have done this for years and years and years? And the only two examples I could come up with, because a number of schools, Ohio State comes to mind, they are located in the state capital, and there's a few others like that. So obviously that's not a thing that would be possible. But Alabama for a long time would play games in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
I think they gave that up decades ago. I think the last few that I saw there was right at the beginning of my run there in Alabama. And Ole Miss and Mississippi State, the same thing. They would run down to Jackson to play in the state capital. Again, that ended 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I can't think of anybody else that does that.
It's financially, it's never made any sense. I do a lot of things financially that don't make sense. I see something on Amazon Prime, and I'm going to buy it, right? But it's a little bit different than when you're talking about a university program where they're like now where the money really matters. You got to get to that 20.5, and the revenue share and all that. Like they're going to have to do what they can. And when you're talking about travel expenses, think about like this too. When you produce only about, I don't know, maybe about 8. I mean, think about that. This is a state of upwards of over 3. I think we're at 3.2 million people. That's it. That's the amount of people that probably commute to like New York on a Monday morning. That's the population of this state. And it's a lot of poverty, and there's poverty in Northwest Arkansas. There's poverty. I mean, behind Mississippi, or I think we're right ahead of Mississippi State as a poverty state. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. And in the university, you're kind of getting that feeling like, well, damn, is this just a product of them being in Arkansas as it is? Is it just because the state is poor, that's why the program's poor? Well, we know that's not entirely true, because my God, basketball can basically do whatever they want as far as the transfer portal and high school recruits, because they've got money, because of the Chicken Man, because of John Tyson. Baseball's set up for success too. They can get whoever they want out of that damn portal. Football's just a different animal, and it's just time to start thinking, as productively as you can. Like when you're talking about rebuilding this program as many times as they've had to do. Especially since the Bobby Petrino fiasco in 2012, it's just like now we've got to figure this thing out, and I think, and it's not like, listen, I don't want to make it sound like Little Rock is all the problem. It's not. It's so much deeper than playing games in Little Rock, but it is a piece of the puzzle, right? It is kind of like when if you were if you crunch numbers for the university, right? You're in finances up there and you're looking at this and you're going, so they've already got to spend millions of dollars just to go recruit because they have to leave the state, which is kind of the point that I was making earlier. They have to leave the state. They don't produce a lot of Power Four. I'm sorry. There's just really two power conferences in my opinion, Big Ten and SEC. But anyways, we'll use the popular term, the Power Four conferences, right? We only produce about 6 of those guys a year out of an entire state. You have to travel. So think about that budget. They spend a lot of money just to go travel to these places. And then they want to go watch these camps. And they want to watch these other, all these other kids down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Or, maybe they want to fly out to South Georgia, which is another area Pittman really likes to concentrate on. And they've had some success there. Let's not get it twisted. But like, man, that's so much more money. So now it's like you've really got to know what you're doing on a budget sheet. And Little Rock, I'm telling you, and playing down in playing A&M at the house that Jones built, like those things they've just got to, I don't know, make that a home and home. It should have been anyways, because that's actually a pretty decent Southwest Conference rivalry to begin with. Why aren't you playing that a home and home? And then stop playing in Little Rock, which was only every other year. So that's why I say it's like a massive drain on the budget, but it is something. So
and the Jerry World's destination for the Texas A&M game, that is a thing of the past. We've seen our last one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's done. Okay.
There was a rumor. Well, I don't even know if I call it a rumor, but I think someone had brought it up somewhere that maybe they were going to try and figure that thing out. And maybe bring it back down the road, which we all know with Jerry Jones and his affiliation to the University of Arkansas and his son too, by the way. It's not just with him. It doesn't die with him. There's probably always going to be that, should we at least play a game there? And I'm fine with that if they want to do something special every couple of years there, maybe. But yeah, I just, it's done, and I kind of hope they don't ever bring it back. Arkansas didn't win there. Petrino did. He went undefeated in that place. A&M hated Petrino, but ever since they've won one game once A&M joined the league. So yeah, I think it's done. I don't think they're gonna bring that back. I think it's over with.
Our Sunday night host Minnie is in the chat, and she is asking, how much do you guys miss Bert?
Considering I'm just a fan of being able to kind of recruit the state of Texas, and his little stunt that he pulled down at their touchdown club really complicated recruiting that area. I'm fine with him doing okay with at Illinois. I'm fine with him just staying there. I mean, in all honesty, Pittman's 3-0 in bowl games. He's had one pretty solid year, right? When they beat Penn State in the last Outback Bowl. Bert never accomplished anything like that here. I mean, his biggest accomplishment probably was going down to Florida and recruiting Alex Collins, and his mom running away with his. If you don't know about that drama, you guys have got to Google that or watch that. I'm sure there's something on YouTube about it. Alex Collins' mom wanted him so badly to stay home. She ran off with his papers, and he had to get his dad involved. It was so bizarre, but like that's the thing that Bret Bielema is known for. That, and I don't know, going on Dixon Street, and people got to know him on Dixon in Fayetteville. I don't really know what he actually accomplished here. So it's great that he's doing something at Illinois. I don't know that I would. I don't know, man. That feels like a neutral trade, Mark. I don't really know.
Well, I would happen to believe that Bret Bielema is a better head coach than Sam Pittman. I know I'm not going to make your constituents happy about that, but I would take Bret Bielema over Sam Pittman. Now, in regards to records, I should have just guessed this, Ty, because this is the number that was in my head. I was going to say that Bret Bielema, because I work with these numbers just too many times, I guess.
Yeah.
29-34 at Arkansas. And I think Sam Pittman's a game under.
Yeah.
I believe that's
They're
record.
really close.
So technically Pittman's got him by a few games.
Well, yeah, I mean, what he did at Wisconsin was incredible. No doubt about it. Like on the surface level, Bret is the better coach, and he's having success in Illinois. God. And so, I mean, yeah, Bret's the better coach, but it just never worked here. And it's so weird. What do you know? You think you're going to play bully ball in the SEC at a school that can't finish in the top 15 in recruiting, can't go out and get whoever you want on the offensive line. I loved his way of thinking. Like, oh, well, everyone's running to the RPO. Everyone's running to this, like, the Wildcat, doing all this different stuff on offense. We're gonna play I formation football, and we're gonna beat you in the trenches. It never really worked. Collins and Jonathan Williams were a lot of fun, and they certainly had the infamous, the 4th and 25 against Ole Miss. What a great moment. It just, I don't know. And he was so overconfident after beating Texas in the Texas Bowl. Like, he thought he could take on the world and go down there and say the things that he said at I think it was one of the touchdown club or something. It was, I don't know. He runs his mouth and he gets himself in trouble, and it cost him here. And, but yeah, who's the better coach? I would say Bret, but that we've seen what he couldn't do here, right? And we've also seen the limitations of Pittman. It's just, that's a no-win situation, I think, for Arkansas fans.
Now, see, once he got things moving a little bit there in season 2, and that's the Texas Bowl win that you're alluding to, where they blasted Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then 8-5 in that 7-6 year. I believe they were really rolling pretty well, like 7-2, 7-3, and then they finished poorly, and that set up the final bad season where he got fired before he even got off the field there at your favorite stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought during the run from 2014 and seeing it build and build and build in 2015 and halfway through 16, they started beating some decent teams in the SEC, got a win against LSU in particular and some other good teams that I thought he had it going there for a few weeks.
Yeah, it looked like I remember his second year, the broadcast of each game would always allude to. They would talk about, oh, it's going to take 3 or 4 years. I just remember them saying that over and over and over again. I remember thinking, man, I kind of hope he gets out in front of this. And then he did. He actually climbed a little bit quicker. I mean, he lost some games he shouldn't have lost, but then he also was pretty competitive with others. I remember in 2014, they ended the year versus 4 straight ranked opponents. I think it was like Mississippi State, LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri, and they were all ranked. And Ole Miss was like 9th or 8th in the country. And Arkansas blanked both LSU and Ole Miss. Blanked them. Scored. It was 17-0 against LSU. Of course, it was a home game for Arkansas. And then Ole Miss, they blanked 30-0. And they lost a pretty close game, of course, to Missouri, because it's just a school. It just doesn't ever seem to matter. Missouri's just always going to beat Arkansas. And then, they went on to win. They beat Texas 30 whatever it was, 31-7. And it felt like, well, we're ahead of schedule now. We're ahead. We're going to be great. And then you lose 3 straight games in 2015. You beat UTEP, and then you lose to Toledo, Texas Tech, and A&M in overtime. And you don't get clobbered by Bama, but you lose to Bama. You lose to Mississippi State later on in that year, 51-50. But it still ended well, or ended up okay. They beat Kansas State in a bowl game, beat them pretty well, if I remember right. But he just could never really, get things in order. He couldn't keep his house in order. And that 2017 year was just brutal. And, they had to make the change, and they fired him, losing those 3 last games against LSU, Mississippi State, and Missouri. That was just enough said. If I remember right, he was fired. He was fired out. He was fired coming off the field after losing to Missouri, and they actually played Missouri pretty tight in that game. They only lost by like a field goal, but it is what it is. But Bret was it's like he was ahead of schedule, and then it all just fell apart once he got out in front of it. It all fell apart for him. And I always say I think he kind of ran his mouth a little bit too much, but
Well, he hasn't stopped doing that, but of course we're here to We are here, even though I'm going to pop this 2017 season up there. That was quite the barn burner to finish off his career. 48-45 against Missouri.
Yeah.
There. But
That's right. Yeah.
so we're obviously here to talk about 2025. For as much as I like to dig into the past and so forth, we will talk about this team. And nobody ever said that Bobby Petrino couldn't coach offense and call plays because this team was 10th in the nation in total offense last year. But they kind of, aside from quarterback, have a lot of moving points and pieces here. As you had mentioned, the transfer total is crazy. It's in the 50s. A lot of wide receivers, a lot of new offensive linemen.
Yeah, and I know they're really excited about Robinson out at left tackle, the kid they picked up out of Georgia Tech, who, I watched quite a bit of film, and I made a Patreon video really about him and kind of popped up some of his highlights and watching him block and doing the things that he does so well. He is a really solid pass blocker. Now, to be fair, Georgia Tech, much more downhill running offense. Like they like to, they're gonna. It's a different look coming to a Petrino offense, but Petrino can do a little bit of that too. I mean, he can run some downhill. He's got some backs I think they feel pretty confident in, and one of them also a transfer, Washington, who they picked up out of New Mexico State. But yeah, a lot of moving parts, especially at wide receiver, really everywhere. Mark, I don't know. You could point to a position group on their roster, and it's like, yeah, well, that's so many guys there. You can point to the secondary. Really, the only areas that they didn't need to really focus on too much in the portal was linebacker. They got a bunch of guys back there. Of course, Xavier Sori, who I think is a potential second team, third team All SEC linebacker. I think he's a really good player. They got him out of Georgia last year. And they've got some pieces back. Selman Bridges in the secondary is back, and Singleton's back, and I'm trying to think of everybody. Miguel Mitchell at safety, who I think he's still kind of a project guy, but he got some snaps last year, had some moments. They were okay, someone who could at least contribute at the very least in the back end of the secondary. A lot of moving parts all across this roster, but Taylon Creed coming back with Petrino, and I noticed Pittman said this today or talked about it, and the SEC Network kind of focused on it a little bit. Having him back with Petrino in year 2 with that offense, like how, the offense typically skyrockets under a year 2 Petrino when he gets his quarterback back, like how much that offense just blows up. I think potentially that could happen, but how often were those teams just sprinkled in with so many transfers? I mean, typically going into that second year with Petrino, you've got returning players, receivers, offensive linemen, and running backs and tight ends. And Mark, it's like all brand new. Outside of like Braylon Russell and Hill at running back, you got Fernando Carmona, who is an all conference left guard, going to be really good. I think he's going to be one that gets drafted. But outside of like a couple of guys, it's all new. How often has that happened when we talk about past Petrino teams? Thanks to the transfer portal and the NIL and everything. So this is new territory. And yes, it's nice to have Green back with Petrino. Great dual threat quarterback. I think he's one of the most overlooked players in college football. I'm not suggesting he's going to put together some Heisman campaign, but he certainly put this team on his back several times last year and made plays. He also turned the ball over. He fumbled the ball. He threw picks. I think he had something like 12 total turnovers or maybe more. I know he put the ball on the ground a bunch. So he's kind of, like I've said a million times, he's a double-edged sword. He could be lethal to the opponent and he could be lethal to the person wielding him. So it's going to be a year where I think the expectations from Hog fans are going to be, the offense is going to be fine. They're going to put up crazy numbers scoring. I don't know if that's a given necessarily because of all the newness. You're having to break in so many guys. And by the way, they broke the news today, and Sam Pittman talked about it. Someone they expected to come in and be a pretty big part of this offense, to be a big contributor, Ishmael Cece is probably out for the year. So I'm not going to say that's some huge blow, but that is a guy they were expecting to get quite a bit of out of this year. So yeah, it's already kind of off to a rocky start before we even get to fall camp, but I don't think that's going to make or break this team either. I don't think this is like it's not like you lost Taylon Green. Now that would be huge, right? But that's still someone in CC they expected to contribute in 2025.
So we got Ty Hudson here, of course, from Tusk Talk with Ty. It's right here on YouTube. Check it out. All your Arkansas athletics coverage. Arkansas football, of course, is our concern here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here. Leave the comments and questions there in the chat. And so Taylon Green obviously is the face of the franchise at this point. Braylon Russell's a guy that we're familiar with. So with all these incoming skill position players, who's supposed to be a guy that's going to be counted on as like a number one receiver or a complement to Russell that's going to, you mentioned the New Mexico State running back, but anybody else, especially a wide receiver, that we can look for big numbers from?
I know they're really big on Omega Blake. He was someone that he's got some head turning highlights. They 6'2", 100 and I think like 85 pounds, super senior. He's got quite the experience under his belt. He played at he's kind of been all over the place. I don't have everything in front of me. I know he played at Charlotte last year. Didn't catch a whole bunch of passes, but he did have off 32 grabs. He had almost 800 yards receiving, which was like, what is that, 25 yards per reception. He's someone they feel like they could stretch the field with a little bit. When you're talking about someone who's 6'2", close to 6'3", about 185 pounds, and is able to do stuff like that, run some fade and go routes down the sidelines, he's got pretty good hands too. That's good to see. I know there's some, what you're watching is when you watch Omega Blake highlight footage, you do have to consider the opponent, and that's fair. Like this, you're not getting some big time guy that played at Georgia or Alabama or Oklahoma or A&M. You're getting a guy that played at Charlotte, and I think he had originally signed with South Carolina, I think, if I remember right. But yeah, there's a lot of excitement around him, but he didn't really come on in spring camp until about the end, like the last couple of weeks of spring camp. Now, they didn't have a red-white scrimmage or a final, one that was open to the public, but apparently he did put on, he looked a lot better as camp closed out. So there's something for fans to keep an eye on, right? Getting into fall camp. That's a player you might want to keep an eye on. Another one might be, I don't know what to make of this guy. I don't know if he's going to make a splash. I felt like when I got to see him last year, he could maybe be a contributor, but Monty Harrison, 6'3", 230 plus pounds, played Major League Baseball. He did get to play special teams last year, and he also, I forgot all about this. He actually did recover an onside kick. But watching him in practice, I mean, he was definitely like, yeah, he's the 31-year-old or 30-year-old at practice. He definitely never looked nervous. He looked like he'd done this before, and a lot of confidence and can move really well for someone, I mean, this dude's he's thick for a wide receiver, at least the last time I saw him. And he moved well with that body. He moved really well. I don't know if he's going to contribute or not. There's this feeling of, man, this guy really could come in and be a monster. He's older. He played ball in high school, but that's the point, right? He's been doing nothing but baseball through his 20s. And so he does have a year under his belt. I guess we'll see. Obviously he's not a transfer guy, but he's someone that maybe could break through. I don't know. If you're looking at tight ends, I really like Rohan Jones. Rohan Jones played at Montana State. He was a first team All FCS. He was he's just everywhere he's played. He's been a major factor. 6'3", about 240 pounds, and I got to see him in person the opening day of spring camp. He moves like a wide receiver. I mean, he's very quick. Again, 6'3", roughly about 240 pounds. He could be someone, Mark, that contributes, and I don't know. They got this kid from A&M too, Platt, another tight end who I know he's a little bit more of a balanced type tight end. He could block and he can catch the ball. But Rohan Jones, don't be surprised if you see him line up at wide receiver, or if they motion him from tight end to the slot or something. He could be something at least worth keeping an eye on. I don't know if he's going to have a huge impact or not, but he is definitely a receiving tight end if there ever was one. He's pretty quick, moves well. Apparently came into spring camp and did well. Didn't look nervous. Didn't look like a deer in headlights like we've seen other transfers and other players that are new to the team come on in the spring. They kind of look, I mean, like, this is a whole different world. Apparently Rohan Jones has kind of been the man from day one. So I don't know if he's going to be the for sure guaranteed starter at tight end. There's going to be some competition there. That could be a group where maybe they can find some strength from that position. It's a possibility because I kind of like what they're doing there.
All right, Ty, got to ask you the hot seat question because our guy Sam is on all these hot seat lists, and he's been able to squeak by and won a bowl game last year to finish over 500. So do you think there's a number, or do you think it has more to do with a number but a lot of other things involved?
I think it's a combination of both. It might be as much about, and I don't know how he fixes this between now and December, but it might be what position is Arkansas football in at the, if they go on a losing streak. I mean, obviously the fan perspective is going to be, well, this is a nightmare. This is what we thought would happen. And I don't know, like if you're Hunter Yurachek or if you're on the board down in Little Rock, I really don't know how you're supposed to. I don't know. We obviously can't read their minds. I think it might be a number. I was a little surprised after just winning 6 after a 4-win season, he kept his job. But he gained some momentum with the way, especially with the way they beat Texas Tech. You kind of feel like you know what? All he's got to do is repeat, a 7, maybe get a 7-win season. He's going to be fine. Which is where I might be kind of drawing the line with Sam. It might be maybe he's got to get to 7, but at the same time, it's how does recruiting look? And obviously, I mean, this 2026 class, depending on what website you look at, 247, I think barely has them in the top 25. Maybe they've dropped since the last time I looked. And then on Rivals, I think they have them as like a top 12 class. So I don't know. So it's like, what's the positioning look like from a recruiting standpoint? How strong does this program seem? Are they set up for the future? And some of that's kind of outside of his domain. Like there's only so many things he can do. But I guess really it's going to be about, are we seeing improvement from a year ago? Is the defense, my God, all this talk about the offense, there are some major questions with this defense. And there was a year ago as well. Not everything is on the fault of the offense turning the ball over. It's also the defense just completely crapping their pants. You had 2 blowout games that should not have been blowout games. There were times when an opposing offense, it looks like you're going to be able to maybe get a stop, and then the offense makes some big play on 3rd and long or something. It's just too frequent. Like there's things here that you would hope would fix from a year 1 defensive coordinator to year 2, and they actually went backwards in some categories. So all these questions about special teams and the offense and what Taylon Green is doing wrong. Why aren't we doing the same thing with the defense, Hog fans? Why are we not looking at what's going on with the defense? There were issues. And I'm going to be real. I don't know that their pass rush is going to be any better than what it was last year. And they weren't particularly good at getting in the backfield last year. They're pretty bad, actually, most of the year. There's so many questions with this team. And this is why, and I understand people think, when we do our Monday Night Lights live show, well, you guys are just negative. I want to see what when you pull open this roster and when you look at the amount of transfers they've had over the last couple of years, you go back to the 4-win season. They only won 6 last year. They crapped their britches against Oklahoma State. Should have won that game. I mean, my God, what did Oklahoma State do last year? Take a look at that. You tell me what it is I'm really supposed to be positive about. I will say, Taylon Green, I'm excited for. I'm excited for Braylon Russell year 2. I'm excited to get Cam Ball, and I think they actually have a little bit of depth on the interior part of the defensive line. I just don't know where the pass rush is going to come from unless Quincy Rhodes finally gets it put together. He's a third-year player. This is a junior. We're waiting on him to have his moment, right? Some of these transfers. Xavier Sorry, I'm big on. The linebacker room, I think, might be another area, maybe one of the most overlooked in the SEC. They've got some studs at linebacker. They maybe made some improvement in the secondary, but unfortunately, we're not really going to know until we get a few games under our belt through the season. But there are some things to look at and go, okay, I'm hopeful. The problem is, Mark, there's so many question marks with this team moving into 2025, and they've got to answer these questions. You're not going to answer them through fall camp. You're not going to create hype until you beat someone you're not supposed to beat. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but could you imagine a world in which Arkansas were to have Notre Dame coming into Fayetteville and having already beaten Ole Miss on the road and Memphis on the road? Can you imagine the hype and the excitement? Two programs that have never played, two historical, although one far more historical in Notre Dame, but two historical programs playing for the first time in Fayetteville. Both teams probably, again, in this scenario, in this hypothetical, everyone being undefeated and having that environment, that atmosphere in Fayetteville, the excitement. Now we're talking, right? Now it's like, here we go. We've seen what Arkansas has to offer. Let's see what they do against Notre Dame. I don't know. I'm not saying, again, that happens, but it would be wonderful. And that would create hype and more positive Arkansas shows, right? Now we're getting into it. Now it's like, oh, thank God. They're actually saying what I want them to say now, Mark. They're being positive, finally. But we got to get there first.
I've yet to produce my Arkansas preview and prediction video, but I did produce my Notre Dame one, and just a little teaser out there. I have hinted around that upset possibility throughout the offseason. Notre Dame going to Fayetteville.
Yeah, a lot of things got to fall into place, right? And the fans, when Fayetteville, and I'll say this, I don't know how many Notre Dame fans are watching this, but
millions
and millions. All the fans are watching this. Thank God. They should be, because Mark produces great content and he's great at what he does. If Fayetteville is rocking, if they're walking into that game with a winning record, maybe they get an upset by beating Ole Miss on the road. Fayetteville is. We've had two former Alabama quarterbacks talk about Fayetteville being the most hostile environment they've ever played in. It can be a very it's your typical SEC home team, right? But I would venture to say, when they're winning, and lately not a lot of that going on, but when they're winning and there's electricity in the air and there's something to be excited about, oh my God. I mean, that place at night, it's like traveling to Mars. Unfortunately, this is going to be a early game, so you'll have that on your side if you're Notre Dame. I'm going to warn you, though, there probably still will be plenty of drunk Arkansans around the stadium, so just heads up. You're about to walk into the SEC jungle down here, where they get a little wild because they like their moonshine and drinking a little beer before 10 a.m. to get ready for kickoff. It could be wild. Consider yourselves fortunate you're not playing this game at night, because you have a lot more drunk individuals. I'm sure they've seen that. Not that they've never seen that before, but it's just a little bit different in the South, but especially in Fayetteville. But yeah, a lot of things have to fall into place. But man, oh my gosh, I would want to be at the game if both these teams are undefeated playing at Fayetteville. Of course, I couldn't be at the game because I got to be here for the post game, but that would be one you would not want to miss. It'd be a lot of fun.
Ty Hudson, Talk with Ty. It's right here on YouTube. Get on over there. Check out Ty's work, of course. Ty, we appreciate you stopping by as always.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Mark. I appreciate it, man.
All right. We're going to keep it rolling. And speaking of hot seats, not for our buddy Kevin, not a hot seat for him. No, of course not.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Is there something I don't know about here you're not telling me? Or somebody's not telling me?
Never. I just can't imagine anyone thinking the just perish the thought getting rid of Kevin. But Mark Stoops, as Greg Sankey reminded us at SEC Media Days, the longest tenured of the SEC coaches and the only coach who was around when Greg Sankey took over as commissioner. And
Right.
but coming off that 4-8 season, you see Mark Stoops on some lists that he needs to come through with a better record this year.
Right, right. You see his name on a lot of lists, and as you and I have talked about, Mitch Barnhart, UK's athletics director, has said that he's not, um, there's no hot seat, there's no, whatever the phrase is you want to use. Basically called 2023 a 1 year blip, where Kentucky went 4-8. We're of course coming off of 8 straight bowl wins. Now, some people up here, Big Blue Nation, might think that it's been on a little bit of a decline since that 2021 season. But the guy who's in charge at least says that Stoops is not on the hot seat. Now we'll see what happens if they have another 4-8 year. Then obviously things can change. But at least going into the show into the season, he does not appear to be on the hot seat. And of course, if you've been following Kentucky at all, the word of the day is motivated. So that's motivated Mark Stoops. That was a tongue-in-cheek comment that he made about this 2025 season, about how we're going to put last year behind us, and I'm motivated, and we're going to have a whole, we're just going to get back to Kentucky football. And it's kind of taken a life of its own. Like people were trying to, some of the recruiting, some of the assistant coaches, when they've, signed, announced players signing, they use like hashtag motivated. So we were talking like here at our work, which you can see above me here, that, they should make a t-shirt out of it. And then of course, after one of the comments he made today, we have like the perfect, the perfect t-shirt. I don't know if you saw any of Stoops's, speech today, but,
I did.
We could get into, we can get into that about stuff being hard. But anyway, but yeah, but like I said, to your point, like I said, a lot of the national narrative is he's on the hot seat, but if you ask the guy in charge, Mitch Barnhart, he's not. So like I said, we'll see what happens as the season goes on. So,
well, yeah, what I think you're alluding to there is certainly, if I remember correct, what stood out to me last year when Mark Stoops hit the podium. Now he was coming off a little bit more successful season, not a great season, but 7-6, and just maybe more of a typical Kentucky season, closer to what that was. But he was more less talking about, this used to be a good season for Kentucky, but that's not a good season for us now. And we expect, we've won 10 games twice. We expect to be pushing forward. And even though we're proud of what we've built, we expect to do better. But now that they dropped down to a 4-8, he seemed to be talking more about, this is a really hard thing to do. And we've accomplished all these things, and it wasn't easy. It's hard to win in the SEC, and we've done a lot of hard things.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And like I said, the like I said, a lot of the media was hoping he's going to go with take a run with the motivated thing. But the word he used today was grateful. And so basically, I've been here 13 years. Of course, as you said, he's the dean of SEC coaches now, which is kind of hard to believe. In his 13th season, and basically he's grateful to be here. I'm here and I'm happy. He talked about, last year not being a good year, and said on top of all of that, said he had to have ankle replacement surgery. So, not only was his team not performing on the field, but, he was obviously hurting, on the sidelines. And, if you go back and look, you can maybe see a little bit of that. But he just went on to say that he's just going to let the media have their fun with the motivated thing and take their shots. And he said, it wasn't intentional, but he kind of was, laid low, kind of a low key off season. But I think a lot of that was probably his surgery. So, like I said, we're looking up here. Like I said, the hope is get back to what Kentucky has been. What is Kentucky football? It's normally smash mouth, run the ball. They try to run the ball down your throat football. That's the kind of style that Stoops wants to play. But, that they've gotten away from, as you said, kind of gotten away from in the last couple of years. As you and I have talked over the years, when we first, started, coming on with you, it was like, hey, Kentucky won 6 games to go into a bowl game. We're like, yay. And then the platter, the bar was raised, and now after a couple bad seasons, I hate to say it, but fans in Lexington are kind of back to that point, like, let's get to 6 games and win 6 games and get the bowl game, kind of thing. So, but another, like I said, I think Stoops this year for the media days, if you watched any of it, there was no, none of the other schools talked about Kentucky that I heard, because, he's had his dust ups with, Shane Beamer in the past and others, but, no one's talking about Kentucky, not really on anybody's radar. And, I think that's the way Stoops wants it. It's kind of have everybody kind of forgetting about him heading into 2025. So that was a couple of the biggest things that I took away from his comments. And then obviously the one about this stuff being hard, coaching in the SEC, obviously he used a different word, but we were saying today that, we should get, like, UK should make t-shirts, or one of the people should make t-shirts, put motivated on the front, and then put, it's hard, this is hard on the back, using, you know what word, I know it's it's YouTube. We can probably curse, but that's okay. I try not to, try to keep it PG. So
I'm good either way, Kevin, if you want to, throw it out there, but we do have a family show, but if you want to throw it out there, that's fine. Kevin McGuffey, last word on college football, joining us to break down Mark Stoops and the rest of the Big Blue Nation there at SEC Media Days in Atlanta. At least Mark Stoops this year can turn to his offensive coordinator and be talking to the same guy for a second consecutive year, because that just hasn't happened for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely right. You have to go back to, I think, the 2020 season, to where Eddie Gran was offensive coordinator for, I think, 5 years, 2016 to 2020. And then you had, and then after Gran retired, left, whatever phrase you want to use, he still has a job within the program. He's kind of like the, kind of oversees a lot of things now. But you think, you had the first go around with Liam Cohen, then you had Rich Gangarello, then you had Liam Cohen 2.0, and then last year was Bush Hamden. And then, as you said, for the first time in almost, I guess, 6 years now, the Kentucky has an offensive coordinator back for the second season. And I think that can only help things. We'll see how Zach Calzada and this offense, gels under Hamden's system. Maybe Kentucky can be that. There's always a surprise team every year. Last year it was Vanderbilt. It was, maybe Kentucky can be that team this year that reaches out and gets a couple games and wins games that they're not expecting. Like I said, we get the Big Blue Nation gets back to that 6-7 win plateau, and hopefully make a bowl game. No offense to the good folks in Nashville, but please, no more Music City Bowl for a while. Although at this point, you take whatever bowl game you get, right? So,
yeah,
but after, Kentucky, I think pretty sure Kentucky's played in more Music City Bowls than any other team in college football since that game came into fruition, I think like 30 years ago or something. But
it's quite the distinction.
Yes.
maybe we can get another matchup with Iowa.
Oh Lord, please no.
Together.
Well, if Kentucky has their starting offense this time, I still don't know that Kentucky would have won that game, but I would have felt a little bit better having both Chris Rodriguez and Will Levis playing in that game instead of what ended up happening that day. The previous matchup against Iowa was much better. So, but to your point, Bush Hamden back for a second season, and like I said, I think everyone is expecting a jump and improvement in this offense. And then, of course, it starts with the offensive line, which for years was really, really good, and the last 2 or 3 years have really struggled. And but they put a lot of work into the transfer portal to bring in some guys they think can do a really, really good job. And I think if Calzada and is not running for his life on every play, that's going to be a big step up over the last couple of years.
Yeah. So who would be those guys at wide receiver because we know Dane Keynes is gone and also Barry and Brown. So somebody's got to step up there.
Right, right. Well, the first, Jamori Macklin, three guys that jump right out is Jamori Macklin. He was the third leading receiver last year. Yeah, like I said, you talk about Brown and Key. And then Kendrick Law is a guy that I'm really, the coaching staff's really high on. Somebody I think is going to, could be a surprise guy, put up some good numbers this year. Like I said, you have Macklin is probably your first wide receiver, and then Fred Ferrier, who's a Kentucky native, came back to Kentucky last year. I think he's a guy who can put up some numbers as well. But like I said, one guy that I really high on is Kendrick Law as far as pass catchers go this year. So that would be a good place. That'd be a good place to start on your depth chart. So as far as the receivers go.
All right, Kevin, we do appreciate you being here, and everybody can catch Kevin's work at Last Word on College Football. Is there anything there that you'd like to let us know about?
Well, right now, our grand guru, Tony Syracuse has been going through and doing daily recaps of the SEC Media Days, and we'll be doing ACC and Big Ten, I think, in the next week. We're doing our top returning players series that we do every year. We started with the Big 12 and went to the Big 10, ACC. We're on the SEC right now. So we have, is that a Coldplay joke? Is that what no, I don't know. But anyway, so right now we're on the SEC. As a former kicker back in the day, I always am partial to the special teams. So I've got just published today, the top returning kickers, punters, and return men in the SEC. And so if you're a Georgia, spoiler alert, if you're a Georgia fan or an LSU fan, you'll definitely like what's on that list. If you're a Kentucky fan, one of the guys on the top return man list, not going to be as happy about, obviously, spoiler alert, talking about Barryon Brown, so who's now at LSU. And then we had, back earlier in the summer, had the first bowl projections. And once the season starts, we'll have those every week updated. And the running joke we've had, I promise they won't be behind a paywall like some like there's a couple of the more famous bowl projectors. I think you know who we're talking about probably. But and then, like I said, we have probably close to 20-25 teams that we have writers that cover. So come on over, check it out, lastwordoncollegefootball.com. And there's, something for everybody. And if we're not covering your team and you're interested in writing, hit up the, hit up the Last Word management team. And, you can start writing and getting things, published on their site. So like I said, just invite everybody to come check it all out.
Well, Kevin, as always, good to see you. Appreciate you stopping by, and we'll catch up hopefully sometime around August camp.
Yeah, definitely. And then I'll be waiting. You haven't done, I don't think I've been trying to watch. You haven't done your Kentucky one yet this year, right? Preview.
No Kentucky preview and prediction.
Not yet. Okay. Yeah. So if 4-8, 5-7, I'm guessing maybe, but we'll see. That's what most people seem to be thinking. So.
Okay. I'm going to throw something out there for you, Kevin.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if I've run this by you before, but about a third of the teams in the power conferences have a jump or a decrease of at least 3 wins from year to year.
Right.
So I don't think Kentucky's going to go 1-11. So there's hope that they're going to be one of those teams to go to 7-5.
Well, right. And to your point, you think about 2023, they were 7-6, 2024, 4-8. There you go. There's your 3. There's your 3 win or 3 losses. And like I said, with some breaks, I mean, they're going to need a few breaks because the schedule is brutal. I think it's ESPN, ranked it as the 7th toughest schedule in the country. So, they're going to need some help and some breaks and going to have to stay healthy. But, as Stoops,
that's coming from a Kentucky fan.
I understand, but there are a lot of people that there are people up here that think that that is a possibility. Because even the out of conference games, you think about Louisville, and this, can't sleep on this first game against Toledo. They're a really, really good team, and coming into Lexington. So we'll see. I think it's more. I think they're going to be closer to 7-5 than 1-11. But that's just that's just me. But like I said, that's why you play the games, and we'll see what happens as the season goes on. So.
All right, Kevin. Appreciate you being here. We'll catch up in a few weeks.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to see you. All right. John D'Adamo has provided us with way too many good posts that I was looking for one in particular in the chat. But I will simply let you know that we have never had a sponsor here at the Voice of College Football that has not enjoyed the relationship and the partnership. So if you've got a brand, you got a business, a customer service, whatever you have, a personal brand that you would like to get out there and reach your target audience, contact us here at the Voice of College Football, just at sponsorships, VOCFB sponsorships at gmail.com. Without the copy or the information in front of me, it's hard to remember all these things anymore. VOCFB sponsorships at Gmail, or you can just reach me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail again. We have had 15 to 20 sponsors over the years here at the Voice of College Football, and none have been disappointed with the partnership, and we over-deliver, folks. So again, whether it's you or a business that you are familiar with, somebody that you know that owns a business that could benefit, and just keep in mind the geography, we can hit just about anywhere in the country. So if you're in Southern California, we got the USC channel. If you're in Florida, we got Florida State, and Miami, etc. So just hit us up here at the Voice of College Football and let us know what we can do for you. Got Matthew Miller jumping on to talk, college football is all I know. I don't know what is on your mind today, Matthew. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. So you said, these Twitter beefs and everything. So Bud Elliott, I don't know if you saw that or even pay attention to them over at the Cover 3 podcast, but he released this thing and it's pretty detailed and good. It's the blue chip ratio.
Yes.
And he released it today, and it had Texas A&M above Texas. So I was confused by that because just based off rankings, like 247 rankings, composite rankings and everything like that, I was like, there's no way that's right, because the only teams in, like, if you look at the recruiting rankings that could be above us are Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. So I did a dive on this, and this is why I respect you, Mark. You do a very thorough job of investigation when it comes to certain things with college football. And so 2022 through 2025, A&M has 77 4- and 5-star players. Texas has 78. So I don't know where he's getting this percentage from. He's just wrong. Like, that's on 247. So I don't.
So my first question was going to be, but you already answered it, was going to be that if the blue chip ratio, so I have never looked at the blue chip ratio that I can remember. I've never verified it, looked at it. I know exactly what it is and I know what it entails, but I didn't know if there was a simple math deduction of simply totaling all the 4 and 5 stars on a roster and saying, okay, this roster has 77 blue chip players out of 105 and that's it. Or if it was more complicated than that and more accurate than that, that if you have high 4 stars in particular, that would pad the number and it would be a stronger blue chip ratio, because you can be a 4-star and you can be the 40th or 45th ranked player in the country. You can be a 4-star and be a number roughly 450. So there's a pretty wide range of 4 stars.
No, that's also a really good point because there's this guy that does stuff just for Texas, and he has this thing called Super Blue Chip, which basically he only takes the top 150 players. And I agree with that because you're 100%. The 350th guy is a 4-star, and so is the 150th guy. But there's a big gap there between how good that player is and how good the 450th player is. So yeah, that's what he does. He just basically adds up the 4 and 5 stars and does the percentage on the roster. But even with that, he did it wrong because Texas still has 78 to 77. So I don't know how Texas A&M had 78% and Texas had 70%, unless their roster's smaller, which I don't think it would be. That doesn't make any sense to me how he came to that number.
It could technically be smaller, but if for you to be behind, I guess they'd have to have a roster like 3 players less to be ahead,
Yes.
77 to whatever versus 102 versus 78 versus 105, I guess. But if you want an accurate list, if you want an accurate assessment of the situation, then it really doesn't matter who your 102nd player is on the roster because they're not going to be on the field to determine games anyway.
No, 100%. Honestly, you should only college football, I would say at most, like if you're like Oklahoma last year, even though they had all those injuries, they never touched the 90th best player on their team. They probably went to maybe the 55th to 60th best player. Maybe. I don't know. So yeah, I agree. I think that's how it should be used. And that's the thing. Went on down a rabbit trail today because of that. And I was just curious because I was like, there's no way this Texas roster has to be better than that. And it was like, when I looked at the numbers, like 5 stars since 2022, the only teams with more 5 stars are Georgia and Alabama, not even Ohio State. Ohio State has 9 since 2022. Texas has 15. So that was off to me. And also, why are we even including 2022? Because if you look at Texas A&M's 2022 class, they have 4 players, and most of those guys got kicked off the team and aren't even in college football anymore. So it's like, why are we even including that?
So if we pulled up Texas's 2022 recruiting class,
there's 4 guys on that roster. I checked that.
Yeah, you said Texas A&M. Yeah, the famous number 1 class.
Yeah, they had 5. They had 5.
Texas only has 5?
No. So Texas A&M had 5 from that 2020 class on the roster. Texas only has 4, I believe. So that's why they make a little percentage of that. That's the thing. I would only count 23, 24, and 25. Like barely anyone from the 22 class on any teams are on the roster. Because if they were good, guess what? They're in the NFL now.
Yeah. So how well did this Texas signing class in 2022 play compared to its number 5 ranking?
Devon Campbell is still on the roster. Kelvin Banks is gone. Terrence Brooks is gone. Jaden Blue's gone. Justice Finkley is at Kansas. I have no idea where BJ Allen is. Jamon Tapp, I believe, is at like UTSA. Jalen Gilbo's on Texas. Brendan Thompson's on Mississippi State. Neto's on Texas. Malik Murphy's at Oregon State. Christopher Ross, not sure where he's at. He's not on Texas. Larry Turner Gooden is not on Texas. Dre Bledsoe's not on Texas. Austin Jordan's not on Texas. Blake Agba's not on Texas. Aaron Bryant's not on Texas. Cole Hudson is on Texas. Ethan Burke is on Texas. Cameron Williams is in the NFL. Connor Robertson is on Texas, but that we're already past it too because we're on 3 stars now. So
yeah,
I didn't even.
Well, obviously, Cameron Williams, Connor Robertson, and Cole Hudson were the best bang for the buck selections out of this class.
And Ethan Burke, yeah, for sure. Those are definitely the 3 best.
And then at the top end, obviously, Kelvin Banks turned out to be a stud. So did DJ Campbell.
Jaden Blue was pretty good.
Jaden Blue, yeah.
I don't know if Terrence Brooks is at Illinois anymore. He's not a bad football player. He just wasn't good enough for what Texas wanted. But A&M's is even worse. A&M's is hilarious to look at now.
Yeah. I did a video on it, and it. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how you have that many guys, and literally, like, none of them were good on Texas A&M. A couple of them were good with other programs, like Walter Nolan was good at Ole Miss, but he was nowhere near as good at Texas A&M. The only guy that got drafted out of there isn't even signed yet. He's on the Bengals won't sign him, Shamar Stewart. So,
yeah, in this era, you have to kind of see how it played out 3 or 4 years later, because we can't just automatically say that's a great class and that's going to make or break a program. So
No, 100%. But yeah, that was just my bugaboo with that is I don't know how he came to those numbers. And I agree with you. I think it should be more in depth. Like if you did a list, I'm sure you would be like, you get more points for having a 5-star than a low 4-star, because guess what? 5-stars hit at a much higher rate than 4-stars do.
yeah, sure. But then we would dive into it deeper. Sure.
No, I agree. But yeah, I just confused how I came up with those. And he blocked me on Twitter apparently a long time ago, even though I never said anything bad to him. So couldn't respond to him today. But
what are you doing out there?
I
You have people block you. Other people have blocked you too. So you threw something else out there the other day. Did I not
that was
see
Uncle
that?
that was Uncle Lou. I may have deserved that one. But let's just put it this way: if you're gonna say stuff, because that's what he does, that's his thing, to get clicks, and then when you say something back, he blocks you. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But the Bud Elliott thing, I don't know. Like honestly, I'm pretty sure I defended him in an argument. He may have just blocked everyone in the argument. I don't know. But yeah, I like Bud Elliott. Like I love his podcast, but the numbers how he came up with them didn't make any sense to me. They don't add up. And that's why I'm confused about the whole thing. But it is what it is. I came here to vent to you, I guess. Then also, I mean, I would love to see you. Obviously, you're busy at some point. Do a list like this for yourself. I think you would get really good views on it. Like everyone cares about it.
Well, yeah, I'd like to do a lot of things. So
I got you. I completely understand.
So yeah, we make that business decision quite often, or at least I should be making it more often than I used to. I used to just plow away at the content, but yeah, you never know what's going to hit, what's not going to hit.
No, that's true. When do your final predictions come out for the season?
Well, this is what I thought we would do that might be fun. I don't know. I thought early in week 0, like maybe a week in advance or early that week, come on here with a live stream, start with week 0 and just pick off the games and just call every game and go through the entire schedule and just see where it lands.
Okay. No, that sounds fun. And if you do the 24-hour live stream again, I'm 100% in for. If you need me to host an hour or two, I'll do it.
That would be nice. I could use a nap for sure.
But I'm sorry I missed yesterday. Blue Wolverine, you got to do it again if you're in there. That was funny. I saw the clip, but I wasn't here for the live show yesterday, and it sucks that I missed the first time someone get booted with the $50 super chat.
It gets to be just a bit much. So,
well, I'll let you go, Mark.
Thanks a lot, Matthew. Appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. See you.
Got Matthew's Texas show. That's every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, folks, please listen to me. Listen up, listen up, listen up. We got a Texas show. It's every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And they do a heck of a job over there breaking down Texas football. And Matthew has about as much knowledge on college football as anyone we've got running around here at the Voice of College Football. Those are my recent videos. And yes, we are churning out predictions. And I hate to kind of not completely pull the trigger. Yes, those are my predictions right there. So they're the predictions of record as it stands. But I did think about halfway through this of posting these prediction videos that would be fun to do a live stream where we go through the entire season and just break down every week, week by week by week. And I just pick off the games and say, Ohio State, Texas, there's your winner. Boom, mark it down. Ohio State's 1-0 or 0-1, and Texas is 0-1 and 1-0, and we just keep track. I may need an accountant or two for that. I don't think I want to write down everybody's record. So I may ask for somebody who is proficient in adding at least from 0 to 12. That's all you need to be able to do. If you can add from 0 to 12, you could play assistant that night of our live stream of going through the entire schedule. Matthew alluded to our 24-hour live stream, which, if I recall, I started to do one last year. I had done one for about 3 to 4 straight years, 24 consecutive hours. And no, I don't make it 24 consecutive hours, but I do a good 18 or 19 straight. Not straight. I do about 18 or 19 out of the 24. I get a few people to fill in. And I don't think I had anyone to fill in last year. And if I recall, I just was like, okay, that's enough. I tapped out at about 16 or something like that. If I remember correctly, I don't know. These years, it all runs together at this point. I don't know if, I reference things from the past on this show, and I don't know if it happened like in 2021 or 2015 or last year or when it happened. But there's the channel. You're on it right now, but just check out the videos that we've got going. And of course, please subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. We are happy that the subscriptions have started to kick in again after just a ridiculous drought. I don't know what YouTube was doing to us for about 3 months, but we are happy to get some subscribers. So let's hit 50,000 here soon. I used to tell Jackson anytime he mentioned 50,000 subscribers, I tell him, no. Don't want to hear anything about 50,000 subscribers. Nope, that's not an accomplishment. We're not going to say anything till 100,000 subscribers, but I broke my own rule and said, you know what, let's get to 50,000 subscribers by, I don't know, week 1. We have our buddy Adam here. Yes, Mark, it's Adam. I have been able to adjust, Adam, to your new handle there. So I do realize it's you. Bryce Underwood will be worse than Drew Aller this year. He's not ready. Who is your dark horse team to win it all? Well, I like that second part of the question. The first one is just, okay, Bryce Underwood's going to be worse than Drew Aller. Okay. Drew Aller could be the best quarterback in the nation, and Bryce Underwood might be the 7th best quarterback in the nation. That's about what that tells me. I don't know otherwise. Okay. George, if you're going to come on here, you've got like 30 seconds because, it's 5:16. We're about done. All right. So the second part of that question, dark horse team to win it all. Well, what do we define as a dark horse? A team that's not ranked to start the season? That's pretty dark horse. So I sometimes hear people say a dark horse and then they say Oregon, or a dark horse and they say Clemson. So to me, those aren't dark horses. I'd say if you're not in the preseason top 15, that's roughly a dark horse for me. So you'd have to define it. And then I will go with my dark horse team to win the national championship. I will give you 1, 2, I will give you I can't think of anyone out of the Big 12. They're just not good enough to win the national championship. I was trying to find somebody in the Big 12, and I really like Kansas State. I always love Kansas State. I probably slightly overrate Kansas State because I've got a ton of respect for Chris Kleiman, Bill Snyder, what's been built and all that. Here are your dark horses for the national championship: Texas A&M, Miami, and USC. They're your dark horses to win the national championship this year. All right, George, you got 30 seconds. How you doing today, sir?
Mark,
We're
in the
over
chat.
time. Yes.
I'm trying to think. In the chat, I put I'm in the back room, like when I get on StreamYard and I'm on hold, and I can see myself on camera, but we're waiting to go on live.
Yeah. I don't exactly know what you're talking about.
Is that how you're supposed to say it? What's the right way to say that? I say I'm in the back room. I made that up. Is there?
Yeah, the back
Is
room.
it the green room?
Backstage.
All
We
right.
can be fancy and call it the green room. We can do that.
All right, Troy. I'm in the green room, Troy. I mean, not now, but I was.
Troy has never been in the green room. We would like Troy to jump in the green room sometime.
I had something so important to say to you about college football, and it just slipped. I'm 65 now. Wait till I'm 78, and I'll call you up, and I'll be like, what channel is this?
When you're 78,
But anyway,
and
it'll
I'm
be
gonna
great.
40. Wow.
Right? Exactly.
I know.
God damn it, I had a good one.
Well, George,
a
I'm
good
sure
one.
you've got about
Hey, this
30
isn't
good
what
ones. Just go to plan B. Just go to number 2.
This isn't what I called about, but if I had my wishes, Oregon State would win the national championship next year.
That would be a good one. I would like that.
I love Oregon State.
Oh, if you had any team except for Florida, we'll take Florida off the map. Any team, that's your team.
Take Florida out of it.
If you could just have anybody that you would want to win the national championship. Okay.
Listen, this isn't why I called either, but this is part of it. There was a guy named Burke in the comments in the chat.
We love
and
Burke.
He can't call in. He desperately wants to call in, but he can't because his boss is at work in the next office and he'll get fired. So I told him I'd call in for him, and I said, do you want me to tell him how Michigan's going to win the national championship this year for you? And how they defeat Florida because they pound and ground Florida, and DJ Lagway loses his first game ever against Michigan for the Natty. And he said, yeah, that sounds good. So that's what I called to say.
That's a good
Michigan
pick
versus
right
Florida for the title.
Michigan,
DJ
Florida,
Lagway loses his first game ever because Michigan just pounds them into the ground. There you go, Burke. Now get back to work. No more goofing off at work.
Burks, just keep us on in the background. Keep working, but give us that view.
Yeah. We don't want anyone to lose our jobs, because then how would you use Mark's link to buy shit off Amazon if you don't have a job? Keep the job.
No doubt.
Protect your job at all costs.
I'd love to hear that. Everybody
so
listen
you can
to
buy
George.
more.
Use the Amazon link.
Buy more stuff off Amazon. You know what? You should have had somebody at SEC. You should have had somebody at SEC Media Days that stood up and said,
"Yes,
Mr. Sankey, do you agree we should all use Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, Amazon link when buying things off Amazon?" And Greg goes, "Hell yeah, Mark's my friend. I love that guy."
Well,
why not? Why not?
We thought we were going to have Leanne Herring at SEC Media Days.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Talk to Xiaoping Li, the Xiaoping King Li Wong, whatever, the president of China, and say, "Dear sir, can you please have all your citizens use my Amazon link when they say I will support the Chinese people forever."
With the
3 billion people using your link.
George, with the paltry number of people that are watching, even if just the people that watch these videos, which is only a couple 100,000 a month,
I know.
If they use the Amazon link, I would be doing better. That would be great.
It's really incredible. There has never been a time on earth like this.
No,
where something like this could occur. If you literally had 3,000 people that use your link twice a year, it would change things, you know?
Yeah, probably would. I'd have to do the math on that, but that sounds good. That sounds good. Do I get a team, George, do I get a favorite team to nominate for the national championship? If your team is Oregon State,
do you want to?
Yes, I want a team that if I could
No, my team's Florida.
Well, I know your team's Florida.
If Florida can't win it.
Yes, they can't win. You want Oregon State to win the national championship.
Okay. That would be nice. I would like that. Yes.
I'm almost positive, don't hold me to this, but I believe my team, if Ohio State does not win the national championship this year, and of course they have no chance of winning. Who could imagine them winning a national championship? But if they don't win the national championship, I want Purdue to win the national championship.
Oh, I love Purdue so bad. Do you know my uncle taught ROTC at Purdue after World War II? In World War II, he was a first sergeant. That's serious shit if you know what a first sergeant is during wartime.
Yeah.
And then he went and taught ROTC at Purdue. What a good guy. He married a witch.
Schools. Look at
My ROTC uncle.
Yeah. Yes.
My uncle, my war hero uncle had a stroke, right? And then he was at his wife's mercy. So when I was a young kid, like 8, 9 to 17 or 18, when I was around them, I would go to their house sometime. They lived over by Tampa. Oh my God. That bitch just rode him for like 20 years. She hated him. She was rude to him, embarrassed him, punked him out. And this is like a war hero, but he's in a wheelchair now. He had a stroke. You get it? And me and my dad, my family used to leave and go, what the fuck? We got to get him out of there. But he was tough, even in the wheelchair. He was like, fuck you, bitch. Get me a pack of cigarettes. You know? Anyway, it's a long story.
Yeah, you kind of lost me on that, but we were still entertained, George. Whatever comes out
I
of your
was just
mouth
agreeing with you
still
about. I
entertaining.
was just agreeing about Purdue, and I was explaining why I agree with you about Purdue. Purdue versus fucking Oregon State for the Natty. I'd love that shit.
My buddy Pack
So
Daddy
tired of
here
this.
to have heard my Purdue, and I didn't even know he was watching, but
Yeah.
he's a true boiler, and I would like to boiler up and win a natty this year for our friends at Purdue.
They probably have a better chance of winning basketball than football. You only need 11 guys. I don't think they're going to do it in football.
No, but neither is Oregon State. All right, George.
I know, and that's a shame.
I think if we keep going, there's actually going to be negative people watching. So we're going to sign off.
But every time I come on, the numbers start dropping.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you.
Okay.
You're awesome. You're my man.
You
Thanks
sure?
for being here, George.
All right. Love you.
Take care, George.
See you guys.
Good. All right.
Bye.
There's the Twitter page right there. If you're on Twitter, and I do not suggest going on Twitter or logging on or starting an account on Twitter if you don't have one. That's not what I'm suggesting. But if you're on Twitter, then of course follow us at the Voice of College Football, and shoot, you might as well. Hey, better yet, follow me on Twitter, because I kind of keep forgetting that as of about a year ago, I gave up my official Twitter account for the good of the network, and I started my own over here, my own personal account, and there it is. Yes, I'm not verified yet. That's because you made me start over. That's why. Okay. No, not Twitter's fault, not Elon Musk's fault. And I should call it X, I guess. But yes. Then we get the great book, Disputed National Champions. That's not me saying that. That's all the people that bought it. So please check out the reviews, and every bit of feedback that we've received here at the Voice of College Football has said it's worth a read. So give it a look. The link's down in the description section of this video and every video, or you just go to Amazon and you search Disputed National Champions. So thank you for that. You'll be glad you did, I do believe. All right. Why am I pointing? All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Jackson, thank you so much for dropping the link. And let's see. Man, I'm done for the day. How about that? Does that mean I'm going to work the rest of the day, which I definitely can, or am I going to loaf? I don't know. But we'll be back on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And I don't know if we've got any guests lined up for that. And I'm going to start working on some prediction videos. I think Maryland is next. I know you're waiting. You can't wait for the Maryland video. But that will be the next one I believe we will display. Let's see. The last one we threw out there was, this tells you something. I don't know if this tells you about how bad I am explaining UCLA football and talking about UCLA football, or how atrocious UCLA football is, that, you know, most of these videos, what do we got here? We've got, except for the last few, we'll wait for those to percolate and gain some views, but, you know, 3,400, 3,100, 6,200, etc. UCLA, what's that number? 81. 81 people want to see the big UCLA preview. And I love UCLA and don't understand why they can't build a football program. All right, everyone. We'll catch you on Friday here at the Voice of College Football.